Hello guys, welcome to our channel. In today's video, we're going to discuss about the fourth principle of insurance, which is the proximate cause. This is the principle that helps in determining if your claim is payable or not and if an insurer can deny or accept your claim. So let's get on with it.
Dear friends, as Aishwarya mentioned, today's topic is very vital as far as an insurance claim is concerned. It's a question of yes or no, whether the insurance company will accept a liability or they will deny a claim. Let's get on to this due to time, positive time. I prepared some slides. I'll just browse through these slides. Principle of proximate cause. It is not the latest, but the direct, dominant, operative and efficient cause, which is the proximate cause. I'll split it into four subsections. Active and efficient cause that sets in motion a chain of events which brings about the result without the intervention of causes originating from another independent source. So the chain of events from the cause to the effect, that means the starting point which triggers the damage and the end point, that is the object which gets damaged, which is the subject matter of insurance. The next visual depicts certain pictures. That it starts with an overflowing of a village tank, which led to submergence of vast areas, and at the end, storage godown of the insured is getting inundated. But in between, certain things are happening. That is, when the vast area was submerged, government authorities took some immediate steps because some highways were blocked because of the overflowing of water. They used excavator and the flood water was diverted so that the highway can be cleared for smooth traffic. Once the flood water was diverted, it started flowing into different direction, and eventually the insured's godown got submerged in water. Now, what is the proximate cause? Whether flood and inundation of vast area or the diversion of water done by the government authorities just for clearing the traffic block on the highway. It is the dominant and active cause is flood and inundation. Once there is a nature's fury, flood and inundation, human beings cannot simply just block it and safeguard all your things. You have to allow the water to flow this direction, that direction. For some reason, the government authorities are taking some corrective action by using heavy duty equipments and then allowing certain the precarious situation to be brought under control. And eventually the water is flowing, taking a different path. So flood water, which direction it takes, it is not something which can be decided by human beings. We can just make slight alteration. Ultimately, you have to allow the flood water to flow and it reach the ocean. So flood and inundation becomes the proximate cause, not the action by the government agency for diverting the overflowed flood water which was prevailing in the area. I'll give 2 or 3 examples. A fire policy holder encounters damage to transformer due to electrical flashover. Whenever there is an electrical flashover, there will be just huge sound and then fire. You can see flame. The transformer is insured under the policy against fire and allied perils, but excludes electrical breakdown and resultant damage. Now, the transformer encountered an electrical flashover. So, electrical flashover is electrical breakdown. Though eventually there may be a fire and the transformer would have got ignited totally, but the proximate cause is electrical breakdown and the claim will be denied by the insurance company. Next example, while fighting a fire in the night time, the fire brigade had pulled out stocks in undamaged condition. Part of the stocks might have been undamaged. So in the process of fighting the fire brigades are pulling out the undamaged stocks. They have stacked it on the open yard or on the roadside, away from the zone of fire. While the firefighting was going on, some unknown persons just took away the stocks, the undamaged stocks which was stacked by the fire brigade, a bit away from the zone of fire. Here, the proximate cause is not fire. Proximate cause is theft. Unknown persons stole the stocks from the spot without the knowledge of people who were busy fighting the fire. So theft being a peril, you have to decide whether there is a policy covering theft. But normally fire policies specifically exclude theft, loss arising out of theft. So here the proximate cause is theft and the claim might get denied or sure to get denied under a fire policy. Third example, there are some all-risk policies. In such policies, the policy will clearly state the perils, that is proximate causes, which the policy does not cover. So all-risk policies are majority of the probable causes or the proximate causes are covered under the policy, but a few are excluded. All but a few is the basic principle of all risk policies. All the details related to inclusion/exclusion of proximate causes under the policy must be clearly mentioned at the time of issuance of the policy. The replenishment of compensation proceeds, that is indemnity, strictly depend upon the causes agreed upon. So if the loss occurs due to a cause which is specifically excluded under the policy, naturally the claim will be denied. Determination of proximate cause. If the mishap occurs as a single event, determination of proximate cause is simple, and that particular event can be attributed for the loss, and decision can be taken on whether the loss falls within the purview of the policy or not. In case where the loss occurs as a chain of events in succession and one event setting off the other, it may be difficult to determine the exact cause of damage. In such an eventuality, it is necessary to carefully examine and find out the nearest effective and prominent reason for the loss, the extent to which the loss has been caused by the proximate cause, and the amount of compensation to be paid based upon it. So when it is so many events ultimately leading to end result, one has to thoroughly study. Sometimes maybe a storage tank, there could be some flaw which was existing, and suddenly somewhere far away place there was an explosion. Maybe the tank just gives away and the whole material gets drained out. Client may link these two, that due to the explosion which happened maybe 2-3 kilometers away, the tank had developed a crack and then the material was lost. The surveyor will have to thoroughly study whether the tank had a kind of pre-existing indication of such damage, or whether you have to study the healthy condition of the tank, how it happened. Can this explosion cause the damage? Whether it happened at the same time, whether such a vibration can reach up to the tank and cause this kind of damage. So these are all things which the surveyor will have to thoroughly study. It has to be noted that while determining the proximate cause, the sequence of events according to their time of occurrence is irrelevant. The deciding factor is the correct cause of loss. So the effectiveness of the cause is what is to be studied and evaluated. Many court judgments act as precedents in arriving at decisions while making settlements. They have been set out below. The insurer is liable in 4 circumstances I have listed out. When the peril is a single event and it is insured. Straight simple. The insurer is liable. Second one, where the insured peril, that is event for which the policy has been taken for protection, occurs first and it is followed by an excluded peril. First included peril happened and then the excluded peril, it led to an excluded peril. Then you will have to evaluate. So careful study should be conducted about the included cause, to what extent the included cause resulted in a financial loss. That is for which the insurer is liable. Here the insurer has to pay for the loss which had occurred up to the happening of the excluded peril. Beyond that, it is the excluded peril which brought out the damage or loss, which is not payable under the policy. Third situation, where the excluded peril caused the insured peril and the event occurs in a broken sequence, the insurer has to pay for the loss caused by the insured peril. First, an excluded cause happens and there is a interruption. Maybe after that situation an included peril operates. There are some cases where there might be a damage which happened. Maybe let it be short circuiting, let it be earthquake, whatever. It could be an excluded peril under the policy. That's it. And eventually after some time, due to some flaw, there is a fire or getting ignited. In that already half damaged situation, a fire gets triggered. So the second event is totally independent. It is the fire which caused the end result. It is payable. To that extent, whatever is caused by the included peril, it is payable under the policy. Fourth one, where both the perils are occurring concurrently and both the events are independent of each other. So we can go by the effect. Each cause, these are called concurrent cause. Multiple causes are happening at the same time. So you have to evaluate which cause brought out what result. So individually you have to split them. When whatever damage is caused by the excluded peril, that is not payable under the policy. Whatever is caused by the included peril is straightaway payable. You have to just split them into cause and effect of the included peril and cause and effect of the excluded peril. Next is the insurer is not liable in three situations I have listed out. Where the excluded perils is the cause of the insured peril and they consecutively happen. Example, electrical damage to electrically active equipments on account of electrical flashover and resultant fire to the same claimed under the fire policy. This example I had already elaborated, but once again I will just due to an electrical flashover, a transformer is catching fire. Policy is fire policy, which excludes electrical breakdowns. So in this such circumstance, even though the transformer is getting damaged due to fire triggered by an electrical flashover, since the proximate cause is electrical flashover, the claim is denied. Where the insured peril is followed by the accepted peril and both cannot be distinguished from each other. Blast from electrically live transformer. Same, whenever there is an electrical flashover, there could be a huge sound which may be interpreted as there is an explosion. Electrical heavy short circuiting in equipments operating in high voltage, it can give out huge sound. Maybe the adjacent buildings may get vibrated, that much of sound will come, but that is not an explosion. It is electrical flashover only, which is excluded peril, which cannot be admitted under fire policy. Where both the perils are occurring concurrent and both the events are interdependent. Example, earthquake and fire. Whenever earthquake happens, there are many cases where it will trigger fire because there can be friction. Due to friction, there can be spark and resultant damage. Electrically live items, suddenly when there is an earthquake, it gets a jerk. There can be flashover. So here both are highly interdependent. It is the earthquake which causes everything and they are interdependent. So the claim will be denied. That's all for today.
Hi guys. So today was a wonderful session and we got to learn about proximate cause. This is what helps in determining if a claimant gets his amount or not, gets his pay or not, if the claim is admissible or not. That's all for today. Next session we will be covering subrogation and contribution. See you. Hello everyone. Welcome to our channel. Today we are going to discuss about the fourth principle of insurance.
Today we are going to discuss about the fourth principle of insurance, which is proximate cause. This is the principle that determines if
the insurer... Why is it so difficult for me to talk? Hi guys, that was a wonderful session. This is what helps in determining if the insurer should pay the claim or not, if the peril is included or excluded, or
The claimant gets his claim.
whether the claimant gets his claim or not. Okay, once more. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Bye bye.